Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Speakeasy. My name is Sareth Ney, and I'm bringing comics that are going to be on my show at the Orlando Fringe called High and Dry Comedy Show, where we don't know what our set's going to be. So all of us are going to write two topics, and we're going to draw random topics and make a set on the spot. So without further ado, my pal Roo is all the way from Chicago. Is going to fly in from there to Orlando and join me. Hey Roo, how are you?
Hello, how's it going? I'm so happy to be here.
Right back at you. I'm excited too. Can't wait. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So, Ruth, you're an Orlando comic that you marinate in all things silly, and you got a cat that's silly too.
He
So,
loves attention.
what's your cat's name?
His name is Felipe, because he has the demeanor of a strong Spanish man that you probably meet on vacation.
I can see that. Good stuff. Pets are awesome. So, what makes you silly?
What makes me silly? Oh man, that's like a lifelong question. I feel like I came out of the womb silly. I was hiccuping apparently after I was born, so that's a silly thing for someone to do right out of the womb. But I don't know. I think it's just because like I just get like weird urges and impulses, and most people's impulses are like, let's go out and drink or like get a tattoo and a piercing, which I have those things. But most of my impulses are like, what happens if I touch this button or if I move like this? It's just like weird, like anxiety comes out and makes me into a silly human being.
Awesome. Good stuff. It's great to be silly and not take life so seriously.
Exactly. I feel like why take life seriously? We're all just on here for a limited amount of time. Might as well make it a little bit silly.
Indeed, for sure. And so, how did you get the name Silly Roost the Silly Goose?
I think at first it was just like something that like rhymed with each other, but then I like put on a show that happens in Winter Park called the Silly Geese Comedy Show, and part of that was like the promo is that I dress up like really badly, like a goose, where it's just like literally like a white hoodie, a towel on top of it, and like a beak made out of like an index card. And people just like really seem to love those videos every time I like I'm trying to promote this show on a monthly basis. So they kind of like stuck from there.
That's so awesome. And you're the host and the producer. And I went to one of them on Super Bowl Sunday. I was like, this is much better than the Super Bowl. And like I saw like the improv group, that troupe that did this improv scene, and a bunch of them, and a bunch of cool comics. And um, and you, as a host and producer, like what made you the idea to combine all those forces with music and all that good stuff?
Um, I think for me is like my first love getting into comedy as an adult was taking an improv class at SAC, which is a local Orlando like short form improv place. And so I took classes there and I really fell in love with it, but like I don't have committed friends. So I ended up getting into stand up because it's like something that I could do on my own and I could write my own material. And when it came time to like put on a show at this space because they were looking to produce like a comedy show. I had decided that like we always get like you'll always find a like a stand-up showcase, but I decided to like add improv into there because it unites all different parts of comedy together, and like the audience that comes to those shows, it's awesome. They like to honk, they like to hiss. It's great.
Indeed. Such a fun time. And I highly recommend going to the Breakthrough Theater in Winter Park, Florida, and see Rue over there. And you could have picked a bunch of different names, and why did you pick the Silly Geese Comedy Showcase?
So what ended up actually happening is that I had a friend. I needed like her to like help me make a flyer, and she had the brilliant idea of like putting a goose on there because. In like untitled, like there's this game called Untitled Goose Game, and the goose is just like you're operating as a goose, and your main goal is to cause chaos. So she wanted to take a concept of that goose and put it onto the flyer. And I was like, yeah, go for it. That sounds awesome. And it kind of took off from there.
That's awesome. And you're how did you link up with the Breakthrough Theater in Winter Park, Florida?
So I was actually, there was a show there called Elephant's Graveyard, which is, there's a poster over there for it, and I was just like one of the background townspeople, because I kind of wanted to see, like, I had tried improv, I had done, like, I had just gotten into stand up at that point. I just wanted to see like what I felt like performing and acting. And so they took me in as just a townsperson. I had no lines, but I had so much fun doing it. So I got to connect with the creative director at Breakthrough. And from there, he reached out to me to put on a show, and it became like a monthly thing from there.
Awesome, good stuff, good stuff. And so we so these are the set of questions that I ask everyone when I started my concert comedy journalism with the stand up comics around town. So, what inspired you to perform stand up comedy?
I think I always just liked telling, like, just being the annoying kid in class. So and I always thought that, like, oh, I would like to get into stand-up comedy someday, but I never thought it was like a reality for me, because there really isn't a lot of people that at least when I was growing up, that were like brown, like especially like South Asian, doing stand-up comedy. All we really had at that time was Russell Peters. But then I had gone and seen Hassan Minhaj when he was at Doc Phillips Center. And this is so arrogant of me to say. I was like, I could do that. So I like 2 weeks later, I decided to do my first open mic, and that's that.
Awesome, great stuff, great stuff. And he those are like Russell Peters is like I watch his interviews all the time, like whenever he's on like the Breakfast Club or whatever, and like he started off as a DJ and stuff, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I was like the DJ at the Nog for the longest time. I'm like, I'm glad we have like similar paths, so that's great. And so what was the feeling like when you first performed stand up?
I think so. I didn't know what, because it's like the first time you get into an open mic, you have like no idea what you're going into it. And like I was like such a, like just being like an Asian kid growing up, it's like ingrained in me that it's like I have to be perfect at everything. So I had literally like written just like some random material, and like just like prepared for it the same way that I would prepare for like a public speaking thing. And I went up there, and I just like, I had so much fun just doing it. And like, even if I got one laugh, I was like, holy crap, this is like a drug to me. And from there, I got addicted. And now I'm a little bit more informal and like I'm much more comfortable on stage. And it's just like, it gets more and more fun the more that I do it.
Heck yeah, great stuff. And so I know that Russell Peters has in a bunch of other comics have like specials and stuff. And what are your favorite comedy specials and comedy record albums?
Oh man, that's such a hard question, because I feel like a lot of other stand-ups, they like watch other stand-up comedians, but like my biggest, honestly, my biggest comedic influence is literally SpongeBob, which is like so silly and dumb. But I'd say Nimesh Patel, he recently put out a special, and I saw it live. And I think it's like a really good special. It's really like funny, hilarious. So I that's one of my favorite ones. Um, and then I think that's probably like the main one. There's also the Atsuko. She put out a special on Netflix, and that one's really silly. And then this one is like super niche, but there's Julio Torres, and he has a special called like My Favorite Shapes, and it's just like niche avant-garde. The set is like really cool on it, and I feel like it's like that's kind of like the weird kind of stuff I want to get into. So that's one of my favorite specials as well.
Awesome, great stuff. And SpongeBob has a show. I remember watching a couple seasons of his show. And what are some of your other favorite comedy shows, sketch shows, and comedy films?
Yeah, I think I was like a big, like in like the 2010s SNL watching person, so that's like something that kind of like shaped the way I like to watch and read sketch. Um, on TikTok, there's this like new like weird sketch group. I think they're called Tiny Idea, and I think that's really funny. Um, and another comedy show. I have to think. I think I really just like Ted Lasso right now. I know everyone says Ted Lasso, but I feel like it just feel good, and I don't feel like sad and like crap after it. So I'm a huge proponent of anything that's like just good vibes all throughout.
Awesome. Good stuff in comedy films.
Oh, okay. Harold and Kumar was a very life-changing experience for me. Um, I think just like I actually did not watch it when it first came out, and then I watched it like relatively recently, and that was just like something that I was like, oh my god, I love this. And another one that was like that, Napoleon Dynamite. Napoleon Dynamite is like if I were to ever make a film, I want to make it in that weird, like awkward style, just full Napoleon Dynamite.
Awesome. Great stuff. Great stuff. And if you can go on tour with any comedian locally and internationally known, which comedians would you have to go on tour with?
Oh man. Um Locally and internationally known. Well, okay, I think locally, if we're going to talk just Central Florida, I have to give a shout out to Lauren Dufault. She's based out of Tampa, and I really love working with her. I love her energy. She's like she's very much like more like a physical comic, and so if she were to ever go on tour, I would love to just like tag along. Um, and then internationally known, um, ooh, that one's kind of hard because there's like so many of them. Maybe there's this like really weird Indian comic. Her name is Aparna Nancharla. She has like big gynecologist vibes. If you look at her, like she could probably be my gynecologist. I would love to go on tour with her. I feel like she's like so kooky. And I've never been to any of these yet, but she puts on these like comedy writing workshops in like New York and LA. And I think it would be like that would be like a dream to go on like a tour with her.
Wow, that's awesome. Great stuff. And if you can get roasted by five comedians, top five that are alive, which ones would you like to go on tour? Which ones would you like to get roasted by?
Roasted, dude, I'll get roasted by literally anyone. Okay, I love that. Top five, man. See, this is really okay. These questions are really hard for me because I'm really bad at names too. So I feel like I can't really like get I can't really like think of them off the top of my head. Um, Darn it, man. I don't know who I'd like to get roasted by, but I welcome anyone just bullying me. I feel like hater behavior is something that I welcome on any given basis.
There you go. I was like, I got roasted twice, and I picked all my buddies. I'm like, you guys know me best, and go for it.
Yeah, I think it's like when you get roasted, I think getting roasted by people that know you the best is I like the most fulfilling kind of roast because you know them like they you know that they know you like the deep parts of you, and so it's not like it doesn't feel mean spirited in the same way that if like someone had no idea who you were to roast you. It's like you don't even know me, you're just commenting on like just the surface level stuff.
Indeed, good stuff. And where do you see your comedy journey in the next 5 years?
I would love to perform at more places. So I've started to travel a lot more. I go between Orlando and Chicago quite often, and I would love to do comedy in Chicago a lot more than I do in the next 5 years. And I honestly like I want to right now I'm like a pretty solid guest, but I want to like work up to being like a solid feature spot. And if I have 5 years, heck, man, I would love to work up to like headliner spot. That'd be awesome.
Heck yeah, most definitely. If you ever get the chance, go to the CFC Presents at Logan Square. Uh, it's a fun show.
Yeah. Oh man, I was like, I was trying to get on that last time I went to Chicago, but then I just checked on their Instagram. It was like they did their last show at Lincoln Lodge, so I don't know if they're gonna do another one, but I really hope they do, and I hope that I'm lying right now to you.
Indeed, I didn't even know. I thought they're still going. I was like, oh, bummer.
This is like a super recent development, so I had like this is like within like the last month.
Oh, wowzers. Indeed. Good stuff. I had like friends that helped operate it back in the day, and so it's good stuff. Let's see here. If you can Uh, let's see. I have all these. It's been a while since I asked all these questions. Um, so what did like what kind of what's your favorite joke a comic has ever written?
My the favorite joke that a comic has ever written. Um, Oh man, I feel like I had just seen something that was like really funny, but it was like the gist of the joke, and I would have to like look up his name and let you know what it is. But the gist of the joke is that like someone in this person's family, he's like a biracial guy, and he is someone on the white side of his family. Like recently decided to transition from being a female to a male, and you know, like there's when you have a big family like that, you don't know what the sentiment is going to be and everything. But the name that he chose after he transitioned was Travante, and everyone was like, "No, we're not going to call you that." So obviously he delivers it a lot better, but I think that's like one of my favorite jokes right now.
Awesome, great stuff. And what experience would you like your audience to take with them after a set is over?
Like after my set is over, or just like in general?
All everything.
I think in general after a comedy set is over, I really hope that like I give someone personally a very fulfilling like happy experience, you know? Like I hope that like when people come to my shows, they sit there, they get to know me a little bit, and they just get to laugh at like some stuff that happens to be serious, but just like realizing that life isn't that serious, and it's all stupid and silly. Um and I think that really kind of goes for like really any show, is like we're all joking about these things that have pretty serious implications in the world, but part of being a comedian is lightening the mood up and like making people realize that in the grand scheme of things, it's it's silly, it's funny, like life doesn't like life is what you make of it, and why not just laugh a little bit more?
Absolutely, that's what the world needs is a lot more laughter.
Yeah.
The best medicine. Be silly out there. I love how we called back the silliness
We
into
got, yeah, you got to call it back. That's just comedy 101, Sareth. Come on.
Indeed, absolutely, and good stuff. And if you'd like to follow and like, subscribe, and everything, it's all in the description box below. So I'm gonna so everyone can just click the hyperlinks and like you on Facebook, Instagram, and all that jazz, and go to your website and all that stuff. So this is the Stand Up Speakeasy. So it's a secret society of stand-up comics, and so you have to be invited to join into this cool group of interview series, right? So I'm glad I got you to be a part of it because we're going to be at Orlando Fringe soon. So with that being said, Drew, which five comics would you like to see as my future guests on the stand-up speakeasy?
Ooh, okay. I think one right now is Lauren Dufault. I mentioned her earlier. I really like Jake Clark. I think he's really funny. He's been on like my show before. Um, Alina Siddiqui would be a very fun one. Um, I don't know if you'd had Amy. I do improv with Amy LaCours and Niffer Sims, or Niffer Swan rather. So I guess those are the five, because I know that Danielle was on the show yesterday and shouted out other comics that I would also co-sign on.
Awesome, fantastic, great stuff. And so, Rue, is there anything else you'd like to give? Final words you'd like to give out to the audience at home before our show at Orlando Fringe?
Yes. If you can't make it to the show on Orlando Fringe, or if you're just hungry for more comedy and want to see what being a goose is all about, on Mother's Day, May 14th at Breakthrough Theater, we have a Silly Geese comedy show, and we would love to have you. Tickets are $12. You can get it on the Breakthrough Theater website or at the door.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Rue. And then we will see you in 1 week at the High and Dry Comedy Show at the Loch Ness Park on the outdoor stage. It's going to be wild. We're going to be silly. Everyone's going to be silly. We're going to have so much fun. And thank you so much for being my guest today, Rue. You rock. And
Thanks for being such a good host, Sareth.
you're very welcome. And I can't wait to host you and all the other cool comics on the bill. And we will see you at Orlando Fringe. Be fit, safe, and take care of each other. And have a fun and wild trip over in Chicago for a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you later.
Awesome,
Until
Hannah.
next time.
Until next time. Be well, everyone. Take care of each other.